Ford's stock price declined for 5 years, but over the last 12 months, it has doubled. And this, my friends, is the reason. Hello and welcome to the channel. Great to have you here. Welcome to all the new subscribers. Welcome back to everyone else. My name is Sam Evans. I'm coming to you from Melbourne, Australia. What a phenomenal day it is today. I love hearing this kind of news. GM has released their earnings report for the fourth quarter of 2021. It was great. Why has General Motors' stock price barely moved this year, when on the other hand, Ford's has doubled? Well, I think it comes down to the leadership and executing on your plans. Not talking, but walking the walk. Ford is planning for a major restructuring of its electric vehicle offensive with a massive budget of $20 billion. Bloomberg reports that Ford will utilize specific strategies that Tesla used to gain its notoriety as the EV leader, including a roadmap for vehicle launches and manufacturing planning, a sizable budget. I should point out, Ford does have more than 200,000 pre-orders for the Ford F-150 electric pickup truck. However, I do think General Motors EV, the Silverado pickup truck, and Tesla Cybertruck are both better options. But the thing is here, the reality is there is way more demand for electric pickups than there are ability to produce those vehicles. So Ford will sell every single electric pickup that it can build for the next 5 years at least. Teslarati reports that Ford has made drastic changes to its EV leadership, including the acquisition of Doug Field, a former Tesla engineer who left the company for Apple and then left Apple for Ford in 2021. What was he doing at Apple? No one knows what anyone does at Apple working on electric cars. Nothing has happened for a decade. So maybe it was a nice little holiday for him, hey? I don't know. Overall, Ford's total electrification plan has a budget of between 10 and 20 billion over the next few years, giving Ford a free range in terms of what its capabilities will be moving forward. One of the most crucial portions of Ford's new plan is to transition factories that are responsible for manufacturing gas-powered vehicles into EV plants. This is a very, very big challenge. I made a video recently which was maybe a little bit controversial, but it was pretty factual about the difficulties that legacy automakers will have transitioning their current existing gas-powered car plants to EV plants. It's going to cost them billions of dollars. It's going to be very difficult. They're going to have to retrain their workers. That's something that no one's mentioned. I should mention more often. Retraining your staff to build electric cars. Sorry, it's quite different. So yeah, there's quite a bit involved there. Remember, each person is responsible generally for one key area. Those key things are going to change. So that will be a big thing to do. In addition, you can't just repurpose a robot that builds an engine into building an electric drivetrain. It's an entirely different thing. So that will be a significant challenge for Ford, for GM, for all of Legacy Auto. I'll put a link in the description below to that video that I made. It references a very important graph which enables you to actually see the health of legacy auto companies. A sizable portion of the investment of Ford will be set aside for this task to actually change their factories from gas-producing vehicles to electric-producing vehicles. But this could take 10 years to complete. Sources familiar with the matter told the publication. 10 years. Does Ford have 10 years? Yeah, that's highly debatable. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Do they have 10 years to do this? Ford's communications chief, Mark Truby, said, "We are executing our Ford Plus plan to transform the company and thrive in this new era of electric and connected vehicles. We could not comment on speculation." Recently, Ford committed a lofty goal of 600,000 deliveries within the next 22 months. CEO Jim Farley believes Ford can be one of the first to scale in terms of legacy car companies, and I hope he's right. Ford has largely been the most committed legacy company to adopt EVs, in the US that is, launching several highly competitive vehicles in the first few years. The Ford F-150 Lightning deliveries are expected to begin in spring this year, and the Mustang Mach-E was the second best-selling crossover SUV EV in 2021, trailing only the Tesla Model Y. It was actually the third best-selling EV in the United States in 2021 as well, only behind Model Y and Model 3. Interestingly, Jim Farley recently confirmed that Ford won't abandon its Rivian investment in spite of losing half the value of that investment as Rivian's stock prices plunged. However, the interesting point is here that Ford's playbook is in some ways similar to the one EV leader Tesla used to launch its company from an unlikely success story to the most valuable automaker in the world currently by a huge margin. Now, Tesla used a product roadmap in its early days, primarily described in its master plan, to funnel its early projects into essentially fundraising campaigns for cheaper mass market vehicles in the future. It is unknown if Ford will use this strategy exactly, but the main goal is to transition to existing plants into EV production sites. Ford reached a market cap of $100 billion. The company's valuation has increased 270% since Farley took office. This really does illustrate the importance of having a CEO who, well, doesn't just talk bullshit to the media all the time and actually tries to follow through on the company's plans and has a good plan for the future. Here is a point that I've made recently. This task should avoid turning the manufacturing facilities today into the stranded assets of tomorrow. Well, I actually think these assets right now are stranded. They already are. Realistically, Tesla bought its factory from Toyota for cents on the dollar. Why? Because it was a stranded asset. Toyota didn't have any use for it. It was something they no longer needed. And I see Toyota's factories, Ford's factories, GM's factories, for the most part, being stranded assets. Converting these assets to EV will be a big challenge. I hope they can do it. Now, updating the factories will save Ford time, money, and workforce, as many of its employees will likely be trained to handle electric powertrains. I agree. Building new factories from scratch does seem to me to be a very cost-consuming exercise and time-consuming as well. Interestingly, Volkswagen has made the same steps over the last few years as what Ford is about to do now, and has provided on-site training for employees who decided to remain at its factories. However, the success of that operation, it has enabled Volkswagen to build more EVs than any other legacy car company on the face of the planet by some big margin. However, whether or not they're actually building those at a competitive price is highly questionable. The additional 10 to 20 billion investment will supplement the already 30 billion investment that Farley detailed for Ford earlier. So now we're talking about a 40 to 50 billion investment for EVs. This investment will help Ford accelerate its EV commitment through 2024, and it will quadruple initial production guidelines for the Ford F-150 Lightning. Quadrupling, that's great. And it will triple more Ford Mustang Mach-E manufacturing efforts. However, it is worth considering the investment that Ford are making and comparing that to others. For example, Ford will invest 40 to 50 billion over the next 10 years. Volkswagen say they'll invest 100 billion. Tesla over the next 10 years, using their current data, research and development, they'll invest 26 billion. Property, plant and equipment, they'll invest 54 billion. So Tesla is actually planning on investing 80 billion, Volkswagen 100 billion, Ford 40 to 50 billion. So you make of that as you will, but let me know what you think of Ford's plan. Do you think it'll work? Do you think that their assets are stranded, or can they quickly transition those, or quickly enough to avoid potential bankruptcy, transition those to being EV factories? Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Have a good day, and I'll see you again on the next one. Bye-bye.